Well, what's going on? My name's Chris, Combat Loop MMA. We're here with Jed. Jed, what's going on with you? How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Chris?
Man, doing awesome. So we're here. Beach Jiu-Jitsu is the game, and this is the stuff that I'm talking about. We're in combat sports, and this is one of the creators of Beach Jiu-Jitsu out here. Now, we're in Florida. We're down in Clearwater Beach. As you see us, the white sand. It's beautiful down here. Now, I want to ask you, how did you get into jiu-jitsu?
Well, I think there was many reasons getting started in jiu-jitsu. You know, one, growing up, I was a smaller kid, so I was always having to fight. I had the bigger kids picking on me, and I was never one always winning the fight. So just as I got older, I got into wrestling. Naturally, I got into boxing. And then after that, Brazilian jiu-jitsu got a little popular, and it took off from there. And I've been doing it for about 18 years now.
18 years. That is a long, long time. Yeah. That means that you got your black belt?
Yeah, I'm a second-degree black belt.
Woohoo! That means you put a lot of time in. It's usually like 8 years of hard work to get that black belt. Now, tell me, how has that really transformed your life? I mean, inside the cage, outside the cage, doing jiu-jitsu on the beach. How does it transform you as a human being?
So I'd say first it transformed me in the professional world. I was an engineer for many years, and I started off at the bottom as an engineer, just like you start off as a white belt. And as I progressed through the belt ranks, it kind of taught me how to progress, take that next step in my professional life. And eventually I became an engineer, then a senior engineer. And before you know it, you've got confidence in the things you do. You just feel better in life. You're physically fit, you're mentally fit, and you're in a good spot in life. It was one of those things that they worked hand in hand, and they kind of just coincide together,
1,000,000%. If people don't understand how much martial arts means to people, what it can do to transform you. It takes a kid that's gone through so much, and it lets you have an outlook on life that's a lot more positive. There's a lot of coaches. You work with kids, right? I mean, you were talking about it earlier. That's probably a huge thing. It really touches your heart. It's hard. You 3- and 5-year-olds. I have a 6-year-old. It's probably tough teaching those classes, but man, it is an outlet for that, and that is a beautiful thing. Tell me about the working with kids. How much enjoyment does that give you?
Oh, I love it. I've got kids myself, but just working with kids, it's probably the most challenging thing you can do in martial arts. Adults, they come and they want to listen. For the most part, they're going to listen, they're going to partake in it. The younger you get working with the kids, the harder it is. You've got kids that can focus, you got kids that can't focus, you got kids that want to be in it, and you got kids that really don't care to be in it, So it's the most challenging thing, but like today, I finished a class. I'm leaving the building and the kids are pounding on the windows, waving, bye coach, and it just put the biggest smile on my face, and at the end of the day, even with the beach jiu-jitsu, when you see people get done with the match and they're smiling, or they've got a medal or a belt and they're smiling with it, I look at the videos and stuff, and it's one of the most rewarding things you can do, is put a smile on someone's face through martial arts. 110%
agree with you. I think when someone wins a medal, some of those kids come out of those classes are so happy in what they've learned. Now, right here, Beach Jiu-Jitsu. Let's talk about that, man. Did you create this out here to do it, or what's going on with it?
Yeah, I believe that we're the first ones that have done organized events. I'm sure people have practiced jiu-jitsu on the beach, but when it started, I started off on Lido Key over by Sarasota, Florida. I was teaching, boxing classes, MMA training, and jiu-jitsu on the beach. So we'd have an open mat to where people would just show up, they'd pay a donation or they wouldn't pay a donation, but we'd drill just like a normal class, and then we'd roll in the sand just like a normal class. It was a little rougher, but hey, it was fun. Then we'd finish up, we'd go get some pizza afterwards, have a beer, and then, do it again the next week.
Man, that is awesome. If people don't involve themselves in jiu-jitsu, it's a huge family. We're all a big family. Yeah. We all want to see each other do well in life. When we're wrestling each other, yes, we get a little crazy. We want to win, but at the end of the day, we want to see each other strive and be better. Now, tell me how it is comparative. I look at the sand. I've been in plenty of classes and rolling around on my back, and I'm like, I don't think I want to turtle. How hard is it to switch from being on a mat to being out on that sand?
So it's a lot harder, physically and mentally. When I say physically, you're going to get tired faster. It's like running in the sand. It's harder on your muscles. The ground's not even, so you're trying to adjust your stance. It's more important to have a strong stance and a strong base out here in the sand because the ground's not level. Also, you're not going to move as fast. So like when someone shoots a double leg or a single leg, on a mat, or they're on their back, they can slide around, they can escape, do the shrimping escape, push themselves away. That's a lot harder to do in the sand. You know, once you're in the sand, if you're on your back, you're pretty much there. And that's also what makes the matches more exciting, is because once people hit the ground, that's where the fight takes place. You know, they're not pushing each other out of bounds. You know, people can plant their feet in the ground and take a stance there. So when people find their spot, that's where the match takes place. And that's usually where it ends up. You know, it's, you know, shooting takedowns, it's a lot slower. You know, again, like I said, trying to escape, it's not easy. Can you play both games out in the sand? Yeah, you can play top position and win. You know, you can play bottom position and win. But you've just got to be prepared, and you've got to take advantages of the little things that are there. You know, you can dig your hand under someone's head if they're on the back, if you're in side control. You know, again, if you're on top, take advantage of the guy being on bottom. He's not going to move away as fast. Put your pressure down on him. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I actually think this is pretty safe. I think out of all the stuff that I think about sand in the eyes, which that is probably the only big concern of mine, is not letting my face hit the ground. And I'm pretty sure that's everybody else's. Do not touch your face to the sand. Overall, I feel like it's more cushiony. I feel like you're going to be more safe than rolling in a normal class. You're going to learn a lot more. This is a real life situation. Like, think about it. You're out in the wilderness, or you're out here in the wild, and you get in a fight and you're going to hit the ground. This is some real life stuff. So like, I think it is a little safer. What do you think about safeness?
yeah, I mean, we've had hundreds of matches at this point now in the sand, and you know, we haven't had anybody have to quit because they got sand in their eyes. You know, one, we have referees that they watch it, and we want everyone to be safe. So if we do see sand getting close, you know, hey, are you okay? You know, if we have to stop it, we'll wipe their face off, you know, maybe use a little water, dry it off. But for the most part, people are so into the matches, they just want to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, if there is sand in the eye, you kind of treat it like an eye poke, whether it be in boxing or MMA. Hey, take a step back, clean the eyes out, give the guy a second, and they get back in it, you know? As far as safety, I mean, it's like you said, it's more cushion than a mat.
I just feel like you're falling down, you hit, it's going to be better for you than hitting. And if I fall on my arm, I'm not going to really necessarily break, and I'll have a little collapse. You'll be able to collapse. I just feel like, be honest with you, it looks safer. It's just like, it wants me to just jump at it already, you know?
It's like falling on a mattress to some degree compared to the mats. You know, even though the mats are padded, they still can be kind of hard. You know, it's concrete underneath it. In the sand, you've got a couple inches of sand, you know, and it does create a real life situation, a real life environment for you to test your jiu-jitsu. You know, we take advantage of an academy. The academies are safe. You know, tournaments with mats are safe. They give you a good place to test your jiu-jitsu and to train safely. But we do a lot of things in the academy and tournaments that you wouldn't do in a real life situation. Now, this is not every real life situation, but it is a real life situation, real life environment is what I would call it. So, I mean, again, once you're out here and you test it, you see that you don't move the same. Again, like I said, you're going to move slower. But that's not a bad thing. You know, when you look at takedowns, you adjust to it. Your opponent's not going to move as fast as either. Yep.
You're going to be technical. And jiu-jitsu is a technical game anyway. So you're going to become more technical. You're going to use your technique over speed and strength. And that's what jiu-jitsu is all about. It's about that 220-pound man getting taken down by the 150-pound man and worked with his technicalities. Tell me about like age groups. Do you have like a certain amount of age groups are you doing? Is it pretty open with the tournament? I know you have a tournament coming up. I kind of want to get into that. What are you doing with this tournament? Where is it going to be at? And what's the open? Is it open invitation, or what is going on with it?
Yeah, so it's going to be here, right behind us is where the next event's going to be. This is a beautiful location.
Beautiful.
But we try to do our tournaments like every other tournament, you know, where we have open registration. You know, we try to get the same age groups. You know, our tournaments, we don't have as many people register because they're special events. We work with the city, and, you know, for instance, this tournament coming up, we're capped at 50 people. But we make it a special event. We've done all age groups. We've done kids 8 years old. We've done female divisions, we've done adult divisions, we've done senior divisions. So if someone wants a match and they want to be in it, just let me know, and we'll find them a match. They get registered, and, you know, if we can create a division out of it, then we put a belt on the line.
Yes, sir.
You know, the more people that we can get in the division, the more we can do. You know, we've had blue belts, you know, for instance, a 162 division where it had more competitors. So we put a belt on the line and a little bit of prize money. You know, where we've had smaller divisions to where it's only 2 people, you know, if we can get a belt, we'll put a belt on it, you know, but it's all determined by the amount of people that register and the amount of people in the division. But we do try to get everyone a match, just like any other tournament, and we try to get them at least 2 matches in the event.
That's awesome, dude. And now, you know, I've actually been watching some cool stuff. You've been in some really awesome gyms. So that's been an experience to watch some of those awesome gyms. And having gym wars, that's something I want to personally get involved in, because some of these gyms in Florida, it is just a bed. It is a hotbed of talent out here. I know so many different gyms, and man, would it be cool to see a Death War versus a Futures MMA or a Brazilian top team, or, you know, ATT, to bring those guys out here to see, because, you know, it is a community. Yeah. And we all want to test each other. So to be able to see those kind of gyms go against each other, what do you think about stuff like that? You like that idea, I bet.
Oh, I love it. So the last event we did was in Hollywood, Florida, our last 2 actually. And each event we try to do different things. The last event was in Hollywood, Florida, was Gym Wars. The event before that was King of the Beach. You know, our next event we do in South Florida is probably not going to be either one. You know, we'll come up with something new. But being over here in Clearwater, Tampa area, we'd like to bring the Gym Wars back.
Yeah.
You know, the academies like that. It's a fun competition between academies, but it creates the team environment. You know, the academies bring 5, 7 competitors. All our events are submission only. We don't do points. If there's a draw per se, we do assign a winner. But when it comes to the Gym Wars, it goes by points. If there's a submission, they get points. The team with the most points wins the belt, the prize money. And it's a good time. There's really not a second place. So, you know, the second, third, fourth place teams, they have fun, you know, but they don't win the belt or the prize money.
Yeah, you were talking about prize money, and some of that prize money is pretty big for a gym. You know, people don't understand what it takes, you know, as a instructor. We don't do this for all the money in the world, because, to be honest with you, it's not a lot of money. But that $1,000, sometimes that $500 to the coach and the team, goes a super long way for travel expenses, for fights, and like that's a huge thing. So awesome job doing that. Now tell me, like, what is the best submission? When I'm looking out here, what do you think the best submission is, or the easiest submission to run out here is?
The easiest? I don't think any of them's easy. You know, it's tough out here. They're tough matches, and they're always tough matches, but we see all submissions. You know, we see a lot of arm bars. We've seen flying triangles. Wow. You know, there was a guy in the last event that he had a beautiful flying triangle. We've seen leg locks. We've seen heel hooks. You know, in the advanced divisions, we allow them. You know, in the intermediate and beginner divisions, we don't allow it. We've seen straight ankle locks. We've seen about everything, you know. So, I mean, just like in academy, you can do the submissions. They work out here as well, you know. But as far as the most I've seen, I'd probably say there's more triangle. I'd have to go with rear naked chokes.
Yeah.
You know, there's usually someone that gets tired. You know, they belly down and they give up the neck. You know, I'll have to go. That's probably the easiest one.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. I just see it. I see there's a multitude of things you could do out here. Now, we're talking about big names. You have pro fighters out here. You've had some pretty big names out here in Beach Jiu-Jitsu. You might not know, but you've had someone. Name me a good fighter that you've had out here that people might not know that you've had. And you've had a lot of good ones, though.
Leilani Bernalis, she's a black belt. She was just on UFC BJJ.
Yep.
She was out here. We've had quite a few. I mean, it's a range, you know. We don't get all the top guys because not everyone's down for beach jiu-jitsu. It's tougher. It's a tougher environment, but the ones we get, they come out and scrap. And, you know, some of our best matches, you know, Leilani's given us some great matches, some exciting ones. But some of our best matches come from the blue belts. The white belts are exciting.
The scrappy ones.
Yeah. They know enough to come out and fight. They want to win, but maybe they don't know as many defenses as the black belts. So, you know, we get black belts. We get all levels out there, and the black belts fight just as hard, but it's harder to submit a black belt, you know? So when you've got, you know, 2 advanced guys, you know, they're going to go at it. They're going to fight hard, but they know defenses. You know, you get 2 blue belts in there, they're going to fight hard, but maybe one's got more offense and the other's got defense. And you end up with a lot more submissions. And
that's what you're looking for. You want submissions.
100%. We want exciting matches. You know, yeah, we want submissions, but even if the match doesn't end in a submission, if it's an exciting match, that's what we want. And we get a lot of them.
Awesome, man. Well, I think this is just the most, I've been telling you since we met and since we started talking, like, this idea is great. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I'm a combat sports guy. Yeah. And when I see that white sand, I think about wrestling. I'm like, that has to be fun. I think I'd eat more sand than not. And it's something I want to kind of inspire to come out here and do, because You know, if we get enough people one day, it would be great to have a huge tournament out here, 1,000-person tournament, and have some great pros out here. I just see it building for the future and this being a great sport to be in. I want to be a part of it. It's something that I see being and growing in the future.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, it's something I want to see grow. I'd love to see it worldwide. You know, our name is actually Beach Jiu-Jitsu International Federation. We've got plans to go international. We're working on a couple of events next year.
Brazil would be cool, dude. I think Brazil, with all the jiu-jitsu guys, think about how cool Brazil would be.
That's on the plate.
My goodness.
That's on the plate. We want to do it, but there's a lot of logistics that go into get involved, you know. We get permitted with every event, so it's not like we just show up on the beach and have athletes there. You know, we even in Brazil, we could get shut down.
Of course, yeah.
So there's a lot that goes in with just your visas and things like that, your passports, but Brazil's something we're working on. We're hoping to do it in 2025, but you know, even politics get involved. You know, the politics going on in the world right now, they've delayed that. We're looking at possibly 2026. You know, we'd love to go to Europe. We'd love to go, you know, I just talked to someone about doing an event in Costa Rica. So,
Ooh.
I mean, we've got the interest. We've just got to get the logistics down.
100%. Well, is there any sponsors that you want to shout out to? Anybody that's got you to where you got to?
Yeah, so we've got Flight Foods coming. They're going to be at the next event. You'll see them there. We've worked with Academy Safe down in South Florida. You know, they're a big supporter of ours. You know, we've got a couple we're working with this event. And I just got off the phone with them today. We're going to wait to announce them. But, you know, we've got quite a few people we're going to be working with locally with each event. And we've got a couple international ones possibly. You know, as we grow the sport, we'll get bigger sponsors in, but the idea is to work with local companies and local athletes, you know? So whether we're here at Clearwater Beach or we're down in South Florida or Brazil, the people we want to work with are local, you know, whether that's athletes, gyms, or sponsors, you know? So
that's great. I like the local thing. I'm big into it. We're trying to do amateurs, everything. It's, you know, they don't make the money, but we want to be able to give them credibility. We want to help them build a brand. We talk about fighting on a daily basis on this. And what we say is, it's like, you're going to be a fighter for 10 years, right?
Yeah.
That's like your shelf life is 10 years. And that's a really long shelf life for a fighter. After that 10 years is up, what are you doing? You have to have a brand. After you're done, what are you going to fall back onto? So like, it helps in every single aspect. I've talked to multiple gyms and talked to multiple people about how this organization is. And I think it's a really great thing to push forward to. I think you're building something really great. And man, I am so happy to meet you. Awesome time. I look forward to this next tournament. It's gonna be awesome.
thanks a lot, Chris, and I appreciate your time, man.
Awesome. Combat Loop out of here. Thank you guys very much.